Ball lightning is once more mind-blowingly strong. So strong in fact, you will start to create an aura of death around you that instantly kills everything that comes in range. You're like a Tesla coil, zapping anything that's too weak to withstand your presence. I cannot describe the immense pleasure this build brings to me. It's so far the highest DPS of any build the game has to offer. The defenses are also insane, with over 90% DR at any point in time. If you also want to become lightning and enjoy this amazing build, stick around. I will explain to you the mechanics, skill tree, paragon choices, and how to progress this one from level 1 to Torment 12. Now, this build is based around the Orbital Ball Lightning enhancement. We're going to cast multiple Orbital Ball Lightnings, and those will deal a ton of damage. As you can see here, we are hitting in the billions with this one without any enhancement like Unstable Current. Once we pop Unstable Current, we start to see billions and billions of damage. And we are going to start to hit around 230 billion damage per hit. Possibly even more with just standing around. And if we pick up all the Crackling Lightning, we're going to see 630 billion and so on and so forth. 1200 billion damage. This happens because of multiple interactions in this build. First up, Unstable Current, in combination with the Fractured Winterglass, provides us with multiple conjuration spawns, and once we pick up additional Cracking Lightning, we spawn additional Lightning Spears. The more we have, the more damage we deal, the more mana we regenerate, the more movement speed we have, which we use with the combination of Asus Heirloom as a unique charm to provide us with a massive amount of crit chance, and we get a ton of damage reduction. Additionally, we can support this one through Familiar, which is specced into the Frost spec. But earlier, you can use the aspect of Elemental Acuity to sustain all your mana. At the lowest regeneration of 6, that's 18 mana per second, if we spec into the right Familiar. In this case, that's the Prismatic Familiar. So this build is not reliant on the Ring of Starless Skies or the Air of Perdition. Both of those items are not needed for this build to function. We can just exchange the Ring of Starless Skies versus a regular ring. This provides us with crit chance, attack speed, crit damage, as well as cooldown reduction to achieve the same effect. We will have, of course, less damage, but will still function right from Torment 1. At this point, with just Fractured Winterglass, as well as additional buffs in the Paragon Board, we completely sustain our mana needs. We don't have any mana on any of our other gear. So at lower attack speed values, we can easily sustain our Ball Lightning. The second most important thing on this build is going to be Firebolt. Firebolt provides us with 4 stacks of Overpower, 15% increased damage, stacking up to 4 times. As you can see here, it's a plus, but the plus is lying to you. It's actually a more damage multiplier, and the plus just tells you that the 15 damage increase stacks 4 times to 60 additively, but still multiplies the damage you deal later. Now, how do we sustain the cooldown of Unstable Currents? As you can see here, we have a cooldown of just 60 seconds. This cooldown is reduced by picking up Crackling Energy. 0.4 seconds per Crackling Energy picked up. Every time Ball Lightning dissipates, we spawn free. During leveling, you're going to utilize the Spark enchantment for a 46% chance to spawn a Crackling Energy once an enemy dies. And we have a lucky hit chance that also provides us with a chance to spawn a Crackling Energy. Once we pick all of those up, we are going to reduce the cooldown of our Unstable Currents by a lot. Each rank of Unstable Current is additionally increasing the duration as well as the cooldown recovery and the lucky hit chance and the damage, the stacking damage of this specific spell. Per Crackling Energy stack that we pick up and absorb, we increase currently our damage by a more damage multiplier of 10. That's a massive amount of additional damage. Now, to get the cooldown this low, we're going to utilize a few things. First, you need a ring like this one, which you can easily craft yourself deterministically. The cooldown reduction on this one is just really important. Once you omit the Starless Skies ring, we can craft the same ring again and have 2 of those. Then, just with 1 temper on our Fractured Winterglass, we reach the same cooldown value that I currently have here. I don't have any additional cooldown on any of my gear. With just those pieces of gear, you can lower your Unstable Current cooldown to be 60 seconds. But that's not enough. You still need a little bit more. Unstable Current, as explained before, scales with ranks. So you need to have additional shock ranks on your gear. This can be done through your talismans. On your talismans, you want to have +3 shock skill. I currently just have 3 here, and 2 here. I'm still missing 2. And this one is not maxed. And you can additionally find this one also on the charm unique. Now the Asus Heirloom will boost your critical strike chance by, at the maximum stacks of 200% movement speed by 40%. Now 40% crit chance is a massive amount, and with this character setup that we currently rock, with a greater affix air prediction, with a ring of starless skies, and a small crit chance roll here, we are nearly crit capped during combat at 97%. With a few points additionally invested in the Paragon tree, which you can find here, 1%, 1%, 2%, and 1% here, you can get 100% just through those things. The attack speed is also easily capped at just 50% through the piercing static aspect, as well as ferocity stacks, which we get through our boots. How do we apply vulnerable? Through transfiguration. On our fractured winterglass, you can relatively early fish for an additional aspect that provides you with vulnerable with your conjuration damage. Since we spawn so many lightning spears, all enemies are all the time vulnerable. And we additionally deal 20% more damage. And to boost our defenses, we are going to utilize the Raiment of Infinite. Our teleport cooldown is already low enough that we can chain them together to always have a 46 or up to 50% damage reduction. With the Mage Lord Sovereign tacits, which provide us with 45% damage reduction, we get nearly 90% damage reduction with just 2 items. And once we get the 14.5% damage reduction through ferocity, we are over 90%. With our other layers of defenses like physical resistances, armor, and life, as well as barrier, we are nearly unkillable. In the high endgame, with a really good temerity and additional rolls, instead of maximum life here, you can go with life on hit. You can sustain your barrier practically indefinitely and never die. You're going to be immortal. However, I don't have such an item, so currently for me it's better to just run regular pants. You can find a really good step-by-step planner going over your progression from tier 1 to tier 12 with exact guidance of what items to pick in what slot and which aspects to pick. I will go over this later in the guide, but you can check it out right now. Next up, a quick look at our enchantments. Early on, we're going to utilize Spark instead of Teleport with Lightning Spear enchant. During pushes, you also want to use Spark enchantment, but during speed farming, you want to use Teleport. This can be comboed by using your Teleport first, then your Evade, then you Teleport again, then you Evade again, then you Teleport again, then you Teleport again, then you Evade, and you have a lot of mobility. And lastly, I want to show you the mercenaries before we dive into the skill tree. We're going to run with Subo, map hack, movement speed buff, and crit damage multiplier here. And for the reinforcement right here, I really like the DR, so we get an even stronger damage reduction. Now for our abilities, we are going to pick up 1 point in Firebolt with Overpower. This provides us with 2 stacks of Overpower once we use our Firebolt. Why are we not using our Meteor? Very easy, because our Ball Lightning is currently using Crackling Energy. And for some reason, if we have 1 point in Meteor and then want to skill one of those things, like Overpower, Ball Lightning will lose the Crackling Energy. So that's not an option. We cannot use Meteor with Ball Lightning. We have to utilize Firebolt. Next up, we only put 1 point in Chain Lightning and Charge Bolts with all the upgrades here, and here. This is just for damage. Those spells are going to be procced by Unstable Current. The only skill we put points into that is procced by Unstable Currents as well as our enchantment is going to be Lightning Spear. We pick up Duration as well as Reverse Polarity and Critical Strike for additional damage. For our utility, we are going to pick up Familiar. Early on, Prismatic Familiar with Elemental Acuity to provide us with ton of additional mana regeneration. Later on, I prefer Freezing Familiar. This one provides Weaken to enemies, which is a debuff on them. So we reduce the damage even further. Once we see a spicy situation, we just drop this one down and we have our Weaken on them. Then we pick up Teleport with Weaken, as well as Ferocity stacks on target hit and Wormhole, so they are stunned, and we can teleport again. We max out our Ice Armor to provide us with a Barrier, as well as Unstoppable and Armor for the whole duration. We pick up Ball Lightning with multiple projectiles to spawn sometimes multiple of them. Crackling Energy, which is essential because we need those Crackling Energy things. and Orbital, which is the bread and butter. And for Unstable Current, we pick up cooldown reduction, damage bonus, as well as Boundless. So the only variation is before Starless Skies, you're going to use Prismatic Familiar, afterwards Freezing Familiar. For the Paragon board, we use Destruction in the first board. Then we unlock Static Surge with the Adept Glyph. We path right, pick up Ceaseless Conduit for additional damage, and pick up Exploit here. I haven't even leveled this glyph. Before that, I have been using Control here, but I found the additional vulnerable application is much more persistent damage. Then we pick up Frigid Fate with the Unleash glyph. This one also provides us with additional stats all around here with Willpower as well as Dexterity, which allows us to unlock some of the nodes here. So we are very close. With a little bit more investment, we can unlock the additional bonus. And the last board is north of the Static Surge board. We pick up Enchantment Master and then Eliminator. What you're going to do during progression is to path through here to pick up all the legendary nodes first in this order, and then you're going to utilize the glyph slots. You're not going to have enough leveled to actually use them, and the pathing is nice enough to provide you with the exact amount of dexterity or willpower that you need to just path through here. And the last glyph you're going to pick up is the Eliminator glyph. This one is really something that you want to pick up later because you need additional points here. So your intelligence nodes give you more intelligence, which unlocks the passive buff here, which is a more damage multiplier. Important for mana regeneration on the board is the Unleash glyph, which provides you with a more multiplier of 25 increased mana regeneration, as well as Static Surge, which provides you with additional 30 mana regeneration. So this one node provides you with 30 mana regeneration, not just 30%. It's an amazing node. With all the others, we sustain very well and don't have to invest at all on our gear once we have the Ring of Starless Skies. Now, early on during your progression, once you start with tier 1, you probably won't have any gear on you, no uniques. So what are you going to slot into the amulet slot? Basically anything that's improving your damage or your mana regeneration. The first thing you want to farm is the Fractured Winterglass. For this one, however, you require Escalation Sigil. This one drops from an activity you have to unlock first. So you go to the Nightmare dungeons and go through Dread Revival and Recurring Nightmare. So at the second stage, you unlock the potential to unlock Escalation Sigils. Once you have this one, you will be able to farm your Asus Heirloom as well as your Fractured Winterglass. Those two are very, very common. And this specific dungeon escalation will also provide you with a ton of additional resources like money and material and salvageables and refinement materials. So there is a ton of opportunities to get gear here. Raiment of the Infinite is going to drop from Varshan. Varshan is found near the Tree of Whispers. And with this one, instead of the Raiment of Infinite, first you can use a regular chest. And then in this case, use Concentration as the aspect, which provides you with a 30%, up to 30% damage reduction. It's not as good as the one that Raiment of Infinite provides you, but it's really, really solid regardless. For your helmet, there is just one choice. Down here, you can find on my amulet already, through Transfiguration, the Shredding Blades aspect. This will allow your conjurations to make targets vulnerable and increases your vulnerable damage against them. This one, at first, you want to have on your helmet. And on your boots, you want to have your Great Storm. Since you don't have a unique in the slot, this one specifically stays just in your head slot. Your boots are going to later lose the Ferocity generation to slot in Asus Heirlooms. Ideally, you want some with additional movement speed, so this one is not completely useless. So you slot those in, and you still have your vulnerable application on your helmet. And at first, you're going to use a two-handed weapon. At first, you won't have the attack speed to sustain this one, and a regular weapon like this one with Armageddon is much more useful. But later on, during around tier 6, tier 5, you want to switch to Strike of the Stormhorn. This one can be found from Grigori. You have to farm this boss, it's relatively common, and then pair it with a wand, which has the highest attacks per second. Now what about your second ring? Your second ring can look like this one, with a lot of resource cost reduction and resource generation if you're struggling with mana. However, I highly recommend you to go with a second ring that looks just like this one. Cooldown reduction, crit strike chance, attack speed, and crit damage. You can craft those deterministically through the cube. You can remove, add, and exchange affixes just through those modifications, and a ring like this one can be deterministically crafted. Cooldown reduction is a utility slot, so this one you can freely reroll all the time until you hit the cooldown reduction. Then you look for a greater FX attack speed, just innate attack speed. You try to hit crit strike chance with just repeatedly putting on aggressive tuning prisms until you hit the right connection. And the last one, you just go to the occultist altar and enchant the item to reroll for the crit strike damage multiplier or the stat you're currently missing. So you can deterministically craft those specific items. Now what about tempers? Those have meaning. On the Air of Perdition, I made a small mistake, which costs me quite a lot, and put armor here instead of maximum life. Maximum life is much more valuable for a sorcerer. Still, you want to hit the masterwork on the greater FX crit strike chance here. You want to slot in the Pokgar runes. Then on the Raiment of Infinite, you want to hit the maximum life. We have enough damage. The resource cost reduction is practically useless here, and the shadow resistance is nice to have as a defensive boost, but you would ideally want to have armor here. For your gloves, you want intelligence and maximum life. We want maximum life on a lot of gear pieces because we have already enough attack speed and crit strike chance. So the most valuable stats here are the more multipliers as well as defenses. On your pants, maximum life, you want to hit the masterwork on the maximum life here. On your boots, you want to have the exact stats as you can see them here. Intelligence, maximum life, movement speed, ball lightning, and mobility cooldown reduction. This will improve your uptime on teleport. Try to find a greater FX wand with weapon damage and masterwork this one. You want to fish for crit strike damage, maximum life, and intelligence. If you have temerity, you can go with on hit life instead of the maximum life. On your Stormhorn, try to look for one with crit strike damage more multiplier, as well as a maxed out ball lightning damage increase on the innate effect. I explained the rings already, and for the Starless Skies, you want to hit the attack speed to max out your attack speed. Why not the core skill ranks? Because one rank at this point for me, at 35 ranks, is only worth 2% damage increase, so very low. And on the Transfiguration on the Winterglass, you want then to utilize Shredding Blades, so you can put back your Great Storm on your boots. Now what about your relics? Your relics only provide you with additional damage, nothing else. You want to have as many shock skill ranks as possible on here, so you boost your rank with your Unstable Current as well as your Ball Lightning as well with all your other spells. The important thing here is a seal with a +1 charm slot, so you can slot in Asus Heirloom and provide yourself with 40% crit strike chance. Since this one synergizes very well with the Fractured Winterglass, you max out your movement speed just through this one, because we get free movement speed per summon. You can craft one through Ancestral Asus Heirlooms and 3 unique charms at the cube. Now this sums up the video. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll try to answer them. Leave a like, leave a sub if you haven't already, and see you next time. Bye.